Hello and welcome. You're watching News Now on TV360 Nigeria. We begin with striking workers who have paralyzed activities in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In Lagos, members of the NLC have been marching around the southwestern state to ensure strict compliance with the strike order. The workers, led by Vice President Amechi Asungoni, protested around the state capital, Ikeja, and blocked the entrance to the state government secretariat in Alausa. While in Abuja, the union is also marching around the city to ensure compliance with the strike.
This is the road leading to the Federal Ministry of Finance in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. It is usually a busy road filled with various vehicles of civil servants as they arrive for their duties. However, the situation is different today, as the busy road is slightly deserted following a warning strike order issued by the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) on agitation over the minimum wage. The workers are demanding a new minimum wage of about 65,000 naira instead of the current national minimum wage of 18,000 naira. Up to now, the federal government is yet to heed to their demands, and these labor members are here to ensure the strike is fully complied with. They are saying they will not back down until the government accepts the demands.
The strike is taking off fully today, and we are working in accordance with our boss, the Labour Congress. The directives that has been given that we should go on strike from this morning, and that is why we are complying. There is no promise, because how can you tell somebody you start the effective date is September and today is 27th? Nothing has been done. You have not announced it. How are you going to do that? It's not possible. They are only trying to deceive us, and we don't want to work on deceive again. Enough is enough. We have to be straightforward. Whatsoever somebody is saying, you keep to your word. The minister and the federal government, they are not keeping to their word. We have complied with them. We have been working in line with their decisions that, okay, let us give them till September. What is today's date? And nothing has been done. So we have to go on the strike, total.
In Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, the condition is the same. Labour leaders are seen marching through the state capital, Ikeja, to ensure that everyone is in line with the strike order. They are blocking the entrance to some banks while ordering staff and commercial drivers to join the strike.
I think for me, I'm impressed. The level of compliance is total, and our strike expands, so it graduates, and I am very convinced tomorrow will be better than today. The discussion between Labour and government yesterday deadlocked, and as at yesterday night, we are also were contacted by the presidency that they may eventually intervene today, but we are waiting for the circular. No invitation yet. But as I speak now, commercial drivers have been directed to stop, and I'm very sure they have done that. And those that have failed to comply, certainly by tomorrow morning, I expect a total grant of this strike. Public schools are shut down; they are not working, and I'm very sure. Banks have shut down, and we are going around to enforce this strike. It's a must strike that must stand, because we're talking about workers' welfare. Nothing can be more unique than the welfare of workers, and we will do everything legitimately forceful to ensure that this goal is achieved.
In the midst of all these, the federal government has been talking with labour leaders on how to serve the current impasse. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, is also saying those talks will continue on Thursday, October 4, with the hope of reaching an amicable solution with the union.
Results have started filtering in from the 7 polling units where the rerun of the Osun State governorship election is holding. Although there is no official confirmation from the nation's electoral body INEC, results from the polling units indicates the All Progressives Congress is recovering votes it had lost to the People's Democratic Party on Saturday. The results from these polling units will determine whether PDP's Ademola Adeleke or APC's Oyetola Gboyega will emerge as the governor of the state. At the end of the initial elections on Saturday, Adeleke scored 254,698 votes to beat Oyetola, who polled 254,345 votes. The PDP thus held a narrow lead of 353 votes over the APC. Rerun elections were held in several polling units in 4 local governments of Osogbo, Orolu, Ife South, and Ife North local government. The final official result will be declared at the INEC Secretariat in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. Meanwhile, some political analysts have asked the Independent National Electoral Commission to enforce stricter measures to monitor election spending by political parties. Nigeria electoral laws states that presidential candidates cannot spend more than 1 billion naira, governorship candidates not more than 200 million naira, while senatorial and House of Representatives candidates cannot spend beyond 40 million and 20 million naira respectively. But the Constitution is silent on the limits for political parties. The analysts who are speaking at a conference in Abuja want INEC to help check the parties.
When do we start calculating expenditures when it comes to elections? What is the use of state resources in elections? What role do they play? What role should they play? What is the role of the media also in that whole electoral cycle? All those existing limits and provisions, how helpful are they and how realistic are they? Whose role is to monitor all those provisions that exist? In how far have we succeeded in monitoring those provisions, and what are the major challenges when it comes to monitoring campaign financing? Why is it so difficult to enforce these laws? Whose responsibility is it, or should it be? And what role will it have in the upcoming election in 2019? Have any parties ever been penalized for contravening many of those existing laws and regulations?
Essentially, we are saying that since candidates have an obligation not to exceed a certain ceiling, and they also by now have a reporting obligation, we want to see INEC make a demand on these candidates about how much they spent and get the reports as demanded by their rules. We are also talking about the fact that it's only candidates that have a ceiling. Political parties have no ceiling, so it's more or less like removing the ceiling, because if you finish spending money and hit the ceiling, you can now hand over the money to the political parties since they don't have a ceiling at all. So there were a number of other loopholes that we saw, and the whole idea is that we have the political parties here, we have INEC here, that the system should be interrogated so that we can draw lessons from the past mistakes, and then going forward towards 2019, those loopholes will be plugged.
Away from politics, the death toll in the flooding disaster, which has affected 12 states in Nigeria, has hit 199. The National Emergency Management Agency, in its weekly report, also said 1,036 people have been injured in the affected states, while 176,299 have been displaced. NEMA also says 17,816 houses and 321 roads and bridges have been destroyed or damaged. The agency is seeking an additional 9 billion naira to manage the disaster. It says the overall cost is 12 billion naira, but it has so far raised only 3 billion naira. The agency, however, warns that numbers are expected to rise further as assessments are still ongoing in some states. The Nigerian military has reacted to reports of anti-insurgency troops begging for food and sleeping in classrooms. Military spokesman Brigadier General John Ajim has dismissed the reports, describing it as a failed attempt to distract the purposeful direction in the counter-terrorism fight. Ajim says the military is committed to taking care of the welfare of the anti-terrorism troops, noting that there is no easy way to provide accommodation in the battlefront. The spokesman also insists that troops are promptly paid approved operational allowances aside other welfare and administrative arrangements. He says the military will not be distracted and will continue fighting terrorism to a conclusive end. In other news, journalists have been urged to desist from peddling fake news. Speakers at a discussion in Lagos emphasized the need for media practitioners to be careful about the kind of news they push out. They say fake news sends a wrong signal about the profession and is capable of causing disintegration in the country.
A cross-section of media practitioners and executives have gathered here to discuss ways to curtail the spread of fake news. One of the key speakers is a former Commissioner of Information in Rivers State, Ibim Semenitari. She emphasizes the need for journalists to exercise caution while going about their reportage.
If you take a look at current statistics, and this is statistics as of March 2017, 56% of those in the world who read us don't trust us. So that means that we'll soon be extinct. That's why you should worry. Forget any other reason. The economics. That people do not believe you, and that the minute you say you're a journalist, they actually carry a sneer on their faces and not a smile, is the reason you should worry. Does journalists be a skeptic cat? The skeptic cat demands proof. Check everything. Everything. Thank God you have a phone and email. Please go to the source. When in doubt, nothing is too small to double check.
Other speakers highlight the legal implications of spreading fake news and the current debate on the regulation of social media.
We have lots of laws, but the political will to actually deal with this, because if someone is arrested for false news, the first is that government has started again. But you discover that most of the people arrested under the cybercrime law, the complainant is not even the federal government, they are state government. Whether the police or the state government, they are mostly state government, not even federal government. But we can't allow this thing to continue because there has to be consequences for some of these actions. The only thing left, which is lacking in our constitution, is that there is no specific provision for freedom of the press. It is only in this profession that there are no regulations. Everybody wakes up in the morning, is a journalist. See, beyond that, I think it's consequence. People must pay for their actions. Until somebody pays, it will not stop.
Professionalism is also at the center of discussion at the event. Journalists are implored to show competence in the discharge of their duties.
You stand by the truth, and that is the one thing that will distinguish you. Truth does not have, it cannot be bent. It may take 10 years. The truth may come out after you are long gone. But one thing is clear. After everyone has gone round, they will come back to that place. And that is that for me represents integrity, and that is something that will stand you out from anybody else. And I think it's time we started saying to ourselves, are we beholden to the politicians, to our conscience, or to our profession?
We know elections are around the corner, and there's a need for us to actually propagate what is right, because fake news is cancerous and fake news is capable of disintegrating the country. So ahead of the elections, journalists should be very responsible in their use of words, in what they say, even on our social media platforms, because people look at you as a source, and you can't compromise that the standard they've set already for you, and you can't also more like belittle the respect they have for you. So journalists have a crucial role to ensure that we don't set the country on fire ahead of the elections.
The war on fake news has been one of the major objectives of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. In July this year, the federal government launched the campaign to curb the spread of the menace, especially ahead of the 2019 general elections. Oyin Adekunle, TV360, Lagos.
The police has paraded a suspect for threatening to rape and kill the wife and daughters of a presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar. The suspect, Augustus Akpan, was arrested at a toll gate along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Lagos State, while on the run to escape arrest. Police spokesman Jimoh Moshood says Akpan has confessed to the crime and will be charged to court.
On the receipt of the complaint of threat and intimidation from the former Vice President, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, GCON, the 43-year-old Augustus Akpan from Edemaya Village, Ikotabasi local government area of Akwa Ibom State, was trailed and eventually arrested by the IDP Intelligence Response Team. I make bold to say that the suspect was arrested at toll gate along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway within the jurisdiction of Lagos State, while on the run to escape arrest. During interrogation, he confessed to the crime and admitted that he resorted to the threat and intimidation when all efforts to extort money from the former Vice President were unsuccessful. The suspect, Augustine Akpa, also admitted in his conventional statement that he is a professional fraudster and not working for any political party. That is mentioned that let Buhari run against your PDP members. In his threat message to the former Vice President was merely to divert attention.
The Association of Professional Women of Engineers has concluded its 2018 International Conference and Annual General Meeting. The conference, which coincided with the 35th anniversary of the body, was held in Lagos State, southwest Nigeria. At the event, the Managing Director, Delta Africa Engineering, Akin Odumakinde, called for more support for female engineers. The calls were re-echoed by the President of APWEN, Felicia Agubata.
It's a huge success for the upwind initiative, and I believe, as is all spoken today, the future is very bright for professional women engineers, and I appeal and encourage all corporate organizations to partake in the success of the upwind association. I spoke on the theme and of the event. Passion drives you, is your engine room, is what keeps you going every day. Even when you have nothing in your pocket, but you have your passion, then you know you can be very hopeful for tomorrow, and that it is important to identify what your passion is, because that is what ignites your purpose, and your purpose is to make impact for how you're created. And therefore, if you want to turn your passion to enterprise, then you identify the gift, the purpose that God has given you in order to have a built-to-last enterprise. Yeah, the 35 years is wisdom. I haven't been in that for 35 years. So there have been a lot of experiences developed over the years. And I believe these experiences need to be taken to campuses and to start nurturing the new millennia into the same program, so that these become mentors to the newcomers that are mentees.
For us in APWEN, we're actually an all-women engineering association aimed at advocacy for the girl child. We want the girl child to study science, technology, engineering, and mathematics that would enable them to have a career in engineering. That is our main focus. We are on the advocacy to ramp up the numbers of females in engineering, females in STEM, because STEM is an economic driver and engineers are problem solvers. Looking back 35 years ago, 6 women met and decided to form this association. It was the passion they have for each other, the passion they had for engineering, really the motivating factor. Today, a lot of our women have gone into businesses, have gone into joint ventures, and have done so many things for themselves. And if you look back 35 years ago, the passion they had for engineering had been translated into enterprise that we had today, which is what we're celebrating today. And we are saying, okay, how else can we showcase this than to bring in captains in the industry, people who have actually excelled, who have also turned their passion in their different fields of engineering into enterprise.
Well, we'll take a break now and return shortly. Do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
My name is Alero. I am not sick. I just need you to help put your stamp on this medical report. I want to tender it at my office as a sick leave. I'll pay 10,000 naira.
Ma'am, that is impersonation. I'm not a doctor.
Oga, be like say this English no go pay. I go increase the money to 20,000 naira. I beg. You know, if I give you that 20,000, as you wide, so you know, if it still help your condition more. So you know, say you spread well.
As I spread like virus, I'll be.
You talk.
Come out! If person come your hospital, talk to make you give am fake medical report, make you go take collect sick leave. Talk and say no, na corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
You're welcome back. It's the business side of the news now. Let's say hello to Fidelia. Hello.
Hi, Aneta.
So I hear that Nigerian mineral resources are doing very well in foreign markets, as very huge sums of money generated as revenue from the sale and export of crude oil have actually been shared for the month of August 2018. Then let's know the update on that.
Yes, Aneta, federal, state and local governments have shared 741.84 billion naira as revenue generated in the month of August. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance, Mahmoud Issadouche, says the figure, which indicates a rise of 27.4 billion naira, is due to the increase in crude oil exports, which rose from 34.4 million barrels in July to 45.7 million barrels in August. Issadouche also says value-added tax, import duty and petroleum profit tax increased in the month of August, while companies' income tax and oil royalty decreased. Well, in the banking sector, the Central Bank of Nigeria has revoked the operating licenses of 182 other financial institutions. This is barely a week after the Apex Bank revoked the license of Sky Bank and approved that of a bridge bank to secure customer deposits. The bank, in a notice on its website, listed 154 microfinance banks, 6 primary mortgage banks, and 22 finance companies among those affected. The notice said 62 microfinance banks had already closed shop, while another 74 were insolvent, 12 were terminally distressed, and the remaining 6 voluntarily liquidated. Oil prices rose by 1% on Thursday as investors focused on the prospect of tighter markets due to U.S. sanctions against major crude exporter Iran, which are set to be implemented in November. Brent crude futures were at $82.17 a barrel, while U.S. crude futures were at $72.41 a barrel. Traders say oil markets were tightening ahead of Washington's planned sanction on Iran's petroleum industry from November 4. Well, let's now shift our focus to the stock markets. Glad to have you back. Now, the Nigeria Stock Exchange closed in the negative territory yet again today, declining by 0.61%, and the market capitalization can be seen at 11.961 trillion naira. Now, that's a decrease of 73 billion naira when compared to yesterday's close. Now, on our top gainers table actually, Total leads the gainers for today yet again, and it is followed by Nigeria Brewers, closing at 91.5 naira. Now, this is despite the consumer goods sector recording the most loss for today. Well, Nigeria Brewers has managed to close on the gainers table despite that. Now, it is followed by Custodian, and this is from the insurance sector, which closed with a 0.40% rise, and Zenith Bank making the gainers chart for the second day. On the losers chart, However, we can see the effect of the consumer goods sector closing in the red on Nestle, which lost over 60 naira, as you can see, 62.5 naira. It is followed by Guarantee, and that is because the banking sector was the second biggest loser in the market today. It lost 1.01%, and it is followed by PZ Custom, also from the consumer goods sector, and Cement Company of Northern Nigeria. While on the top traders chart, it is dominated by the banking sector, just like yesterday, but there's a difference right here because Fidelity is the only equity that closed in the greens today. These remaining three experienced more sell-offs than buys today, which is why they are landing on the top traders chart, meaning stakeholders sold more of their shares of these equities. Now, in summary, 2.729 billion naira value of shares were traded in the market, and that's a total of 154.290 million naira. On the global stock market, we can see FTSE, Dow Jones, and Nikkei once again in the greens. Well, that's it on the stock market. Back to you, Annette.
Well, this is the last week in the month of September, and consistently we've seen the financial services sector, making the most trade, the most profit consistently, every other day. Well, we hope to see what tomorrow holds, the last trading session for the month.
Yes, Annette.
So we're going to very short break now and return with news and sports and on the foreign scene. Just stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. Two of us.
Thank you very much, officer. It's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so...
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We are only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Cameroon's French-linked rail operator Camrail and its top executives have been convicted of involuntary manslaughter after 79 people were killed and about 600 others were injured when a train derailed in October 2016. The train was traveling from the capital, Yaoundé, to the main commercial city, Douala, when it derailed in one of the worst rail disasters in Cameroon. A lawyer for one of the victims welcomed the ruling handed down by a court in Cameroon's central town of Esika. An independent study estimates that 190,000 people have been killed in South Sudan's civil war. Fighting broke out in December 2013 after a political disagreement between President Salva Kiir and the former vice president he had sacked, Riek Machar. The report also noted that when factors such as population displacement, disruption to health facilities, and lack of food are included in the death toll, it rises to 383,000. A United Nations official said in 2016 that 50,000 people had been killed and nearly a quarter of the population of 12 million uprooted by the fighting, which has often been along ethnic lines. In sports, Juventus forward Cristiano Ronaldo will be available to play former club Manchester United next month after UEFA ruled he must serve only a one-match ban for his Champions League red card. The Portugal captain was sent off during Juve's 2-0 win over Valencia last week after appearing to pull a defender, Jason Murillo's hair. Juventus play United in Group H at Old Trafford on October 23rd. A 3-match suspension would have seen Ronaldo also miss the rerun fixture in Turin on November 7. UEFA has confirmed video assistant referees (VAR) will be used in the Champions League from the 2019 to 2020 season and will also be introduced at the 2020 European Championship. The decision follows the introduction of VAR at this summer's World Cup in Russia, which was largely deemed to be a success. The technology will also be used in next year's UEFA Super Cup and the Europa League from the 2020 to 2021 season, as well as in the finals of the new Nations League competition from 2021. Meanwhile, Germany has beaten Turkey to host Euro 2024 after a vote by UEFA's Executive Committee on Thursday. The two countries made final bid presentations before voting took place in Lyon, Switzerland. The decision means Germany will stage the European Championship for the first time as a unified country, with West Germany having hosted the 1988 tournament. Turkey is yet to host a major international football tournament. And that's the size of our bulletin and news now on TV360 Nigeria. Thanks for watching. I am Annetta Felix.